Hello everyone, welcome to Practical GCP. So today I want to cover some topics around Cloud Composer local development using this tool Google provides. If you know this tool already, that's great, but if you don't, this is a Google Cloud provided tool to allow you to run Airflow distribution, just like exactly how you run Composer on production on your local development. Today, there will be no slides. It's just information and demos, right? So, why is this important? I've seen a number of ways how engineers develop Airflow locally. One could be just try to install it without using Docker containers, just locally using your IDE and Python packages, and that usually is quite problematic. And the other way, quite a lot of engineers do is to use the distribution provided by Airflow themselves. So that is great as well. But from my experience, there's always issues with that distribution because Composer, the Google provided service, usually install a lot more packages than the Airflow distribution because it's got a lot of the Google packages installed as well, right? Because it's for running on Google Cloud. So there you have an issue. Many times I see engineers struggle to align the versions you have locally and the version you have running on production. So for example, if you need to install a library for encryption or whatever it is, you may not be able to see the issue with the compatibility until you get to let's say a city environment or UAT environment, or sometimes even production environment, because the version that you're installing locally may not be exactly the same, right? So the reason this is important is because this Cloud Composer local development tool that provides, later on I'll show you, that has the exact distribution of all the Cloud Composer tool. It doesn't yet support Cloud Composer 3 yet because that's still in public review. But for Cloud Composer 2, for all of the versions and distributions, you can actually use it locally. Right, this is actually a very important thing. So what that means is if you need to install any pip packages locally to see if there are any issues with the version you're using on the libraries you're using, you can actually see it upfront. Right, this is actually a very important thing. Right, so this tool, this page is actually describing it very well. But what I've done is I've created a repository to show you guys exactly how to set this up. So this session is just about the demos and informations and hints, right? So hopefully it's useful. Right, let's crack on. So this tool, I've kind of simplified the way to install it. But basically the first thing you need to do, right, is I've actually documented in here. The first thing you need to do is to log in using the command line tool with gcloud. And this would give you the ability to access your Google Cloud environment, right? It uses the token generated by these, specifically the first one. And then once you start this environment, which utilizes Docker on your local machine, then you'll be able to utilize those credentials that are generated so for yourself, right? So the way this works is, first of all, you need to check out this repository. So this is the one, let's have a quick look, right? This is the one that looks like this. So it's called Composer Local Dev. And all it does is basically Google Cloud. This is really, really amazing, actually quite easy to get it to work. Is this whole Airflow environment. It keeps saying this is a local development CLI tool, but it has a whole Airflow environment, including the UI itself, that you can use all of it. So it's not just for CLI. So all you have to do is to check it out, right? And then install it. So, right. So all the pip packages is already here. So you just need to install it, and then you'll be able to use the Airflow Composer package locally, right? So the way I've done that is, first of all, I've checked out this repository in a separate folder, right? So this is, if you look at my command line, so I have checked it out into Composer local dev, which is here, right? So, and then what I've done, which most of you would have done, is to have a repository. In this case, I've got local DAGs. That is the typically your repository, right, for where you create the DAGs and do all of your work. So you can see that I'm not mixing the two, right? That is, the other one stays where it is, but this one is where your DAGs are, right? So then you basically go back to your DAGs and then your DAGs repository, and then you install this thing. So you can actually do it like this way, right? You don't have to install it like the instruction says within this directory, because all it does is to install it on your global pip profile, then you can use it anywhere you like. So let's just go ahead and do that, right? So now if I do this, it will be installing this whole composer thing locally, right? That's now it's done. And the next thing is you need to use the composer dev thing. So once you've done that, you can see the composer dev is now available, right? This is the tool, the command line tool is available, right? So now you can create a composer environment. So this is where the version comes in, right? This is where the version comes in. On the website, I don't think I need to go through the whole thing, but if you look at one of the very important command, which is you can actually list all of the available versions. So if you do that in the command line tool in here, what you see is all of the distributions that Composer offers. This is really cool because you can actually use any one of these. Let's say if your production runs 2.8.3 Airflow 2.7.3, right? And then you can actually use this one to mirror exactly what you've got on the production environment, including all of the packages installed, which can make your life a lot easier for, like what I said earlier, to catch issues with package compatibility, right? So now what we can do is your DAG folder is here, right, in local DAGs in here, right? I've got one as example. I created it yesterday, but if you export these, then install the environment. I call it Composer Local. So this will have your image, where you want this to, the location of your image, and then the project, which project you want to connect it to, and then the port. My 8080 is always taken, so I'm kind of using 8081. This is where you can access the Airflow UI. And then finally, most importantly, the location of your DAGs, right? And then if I do this, what it's going to do is now it will generate a composer folder, right? This composer folder is where you have all of the configurations of your local composer environment. You would have seen that I've ignored everything in there except the requirement.txt. The reason for this is the information in here could be sensitive. You better just keep it to yourself. It's got Airflow DB, it's got other things, so it depends on what you put in there. It might be a good idea not to push this into version control. But the only thing I've actually excluded is if you look at my git ignore, I've excluded everything here, but I then added requirements.txt. This is where you can specify any libraries you want to install, right? If you put any libraries here, it will try to install it in this startup process. So this is the key where if there is an issue, you can see if there's an issue, if there's a issue with the package compatibility, you see at the startup, right? This is very important. So going back to the README, this now has created an environment, right? You could, so that is in the instructions give you two commands. One, you can start it, and one you can restart it, right? So what's useful with the restart command is anything you've changed in the requirements.txt, you can actually use the restart and it will reinstall whatever you need to do in the requirements.txt. So it's very, very handy, right? But let's start this thing up. It usually isn't this quick because I've done it previously, so it's already downloaded all of the Docker images. But if the first time you do it, it would take quite a bit of time, like say 10 minutes. So it depends on internet speed to download the Docker images. So this is what I found sometimes having a bit of an issue. The first time I run it, with the start command, it always seemed to have problems on initializing the database and everything. But whenever I do a restart, it just fixes itself. It happened quite a few times, so I think this is consistent. But if you just do a restart, it should just fix itself, and it will start the web UI in a minute. So now it's starting it because it always does a Airflow DB init because it has to do that to make sure it's the database is initialized. Yeah, last time it was throwing errors, but this time it's working. There you go, right? So now you see the DAG I've created. So what this DAG does is basically just taking a Google BigQuery public data set. You can look at what it's doing in there, right? If you go to the graph, you can see it does a few things. It creates a table to grab like where the data will be eventually sent to, and then you create a temp table where it will extract the data from the original region and it put it in the same region, and then export to the GCS, and then they finally load it to the table, which is a very simple example. And the reason you probably ask me, like, why don't I just send it from BigQuery to BigQuery? Why does it go to GCS? So I'm trying to kind of simulate a situation where your data is in a different region, so you have to put it into a bucket and then put it back. So it's just an example that I put together. So you can now, if you look at the tailing of the logs, it's now polling the DAGs, and you can see what it's doing in there. If I look at the code in here, right, you can see this is just some code I've generated to, I'll push this up so you can have access to that as well, but it's just an example, right? So this uses the Airflow tool, and then you can see this is all linked up. If I enable it, you can see this environment works end to end. I can enable auto refresh, right? So you can see this started kicking in, right? So while it's running, I want to show you guys a few more things. If you go back here, right? If you go back here, so I've showed you guys how to do the tailing of the logs. This is actually very important if there's anything is going wrong, and if you want to see things running and what kind of logs it's checking out, it's very useful to be tailing the logs on the Docker container. This is one of the very important things we do all the time. And then the other thing is around, so if I clean this up a little bit, you've got a command, let's say with the composer dev, this is the command, and then you've got run airflow cmd. So this allows you to run anything, right? Any airflow commands within the, this is the name of your local composer setup, right? And then you can run anything. So in this case, I can run a cheat sheet. This would give you a cheat sheet, right? So this gives you all of the things. So you can also test your DAG, run your DAG, trigger your DAG, do a backfill, all of these things. If you want to try anything, you can always do it in here. So it's quite important to have the ability to do this, not just seeing everything working in the UI. You can see this is working very nicely as we discussed. You see, it's much more convenient to set up, because in the past, if you use Docker Compose, there's a lot more things you need to set up. If you use this one, it automatically uses your application credentials, so you actually don't have to do anything at all. So it's much easier to set it up. There's one more thing I want to give you guys a hint is, you probably noticed in my IDE, it has recognized Airflow. So I don't know what you guys are using. You can use VM code. This is PyCharm, but it's all the same thing. But one thing you can do with the, you can see that I've got an Airflow folder in here that has the Airflow repository. So what I've done is I've checked out the whole Airflow repository, because this is really useful for code hinting. I know you can use ChatGPT or whatever else, but it's still good to see the deterministic libraries you've got, rather than just, hallucinating the library that doesn't exist. So the way you can do that is you can check out Airflow locally. So let's say in this folder, right? You can see you've checked out Airflow. Because I know I'm running 2.7.3, you can do a checkout, you can do a git checkout on the exact version, let's say 2.7.3. So that would give you the exact version, the tagged version of 2.7.3 in this local repository. So what you can then do is in your IDE, in PyCharm specifically, I'm sure you can do this in all IDEs, in the project structure, you just add another thing into the content root. So this local DAG is where my DAGs are, and then you add Airflow as well. So as soon as you add it in, you see it started recognizing all of the libraries. So if you want to do any code hint, you want to go into, let's say, the BigQuery libraries, all of the code will be here, right? So you don't have to actually move everything around. If you need to look at the code, you need to debug something, this is very, very handy. Let's see if our DAG's finished. Yes, it's finished. So all I did was pulling some data from the Wikipedia sample page, and then and then I've actually inserted this into the edit. So if I refresh this thing, you can see it's just been updated with the 73 million records in here. So I did like half of that yesterday. I did bunch today as well. But yeah, just the example that show you this thing can be very effective and working locally, so you don't really need to set a lot of these things up from scratch. The tool that Google provided, it is very effective. So it took me like very little time to work to put this up together. But hopefully some of the hints and the reason why I decided to use this one and share this with you guys is useful, because again, very, very important in the very, very early stages to detect version incompatibility with any of the pip packages on your local development environment. So, although one thing I haven't tried is, I don't know if you guys seen, I put up another video the other day around workstations. So I have not tried this myself, but technically this could be quite powerful if you set this up within a workstation image to have it pre-installed with VS Code. So that could be very powerful if you have a remote workforce and you don't have a powerful local laptop. This could work very well, but I've not tried that one yet. But technically, as long as you have Docker, this could work anywhere. All right, that's the end of the video today. Yeah, hopefully you found it useful. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.
Go out!